if that makes sense. Right.
Okay. Well, they all happen in the same area on the chart, right?
Yeah. So like the fair value gap, right? Um, that is because of the imbalance, because there was an acceleration of price. So we like leapfrogged over passive orders. Um, then that results in the imbalance that's there, right? And that's why you're targeting that area for that
Uh-huh.
retest. And that's
Gotcha.
why like most times once you enter like an fair value gap, you'll realize that it runs to the top of the actual gap, which is going to be the prior candle's bottom wick.
Right.
If you're looking at it from like a downtrend, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so that's pretty much what like I mean I've heard about it. I don't feel like I never really understood the imbalances or anything or like the inefficiencies or the efficiencies, but I don't know. I feel like something clicked and like it all kind of started to make sense. And so I guess I'll start off. I think everyone's pretty much here, but I'm recording too, so I think we're good. But so like a market imbalance is going to be a place on the chart where the chart's only been like tested from one side or something. So like if you go back to like here, there's an imbalance of price this entire way up because we just ran straight through it. We never came back down and touched or tested it from the other side.
What about that long wick on that candle?
So this isn't the wick, right?
Okay. There is no wick. Okay.
Right. It's right. So it's basically a place on like a place on the chart where there is no wick that goes through it. So like prior to this price pushing back up, this was an imbalance right here. So it's basically from the one
Mm-hmm.
wick to the other wick, like
Ah,
that. Okay. And so these are going to be places where you're going to have a supply zone up here that causes this. And the market will want to come back and retest and balance out price in this area and then hit this order block or supply zone up here before selling off again. So that's kind of the whole gist of the market imbalances. And so once you create one, the market's going to want to refill it before it makes another move. So this is where it refills, and now this is now the price here is no longer out of balance. But
interesting.
but as price basically fills in the imbalance on one side, it'll create others on another side. So like now you have one here on the daily time frame. Let me see if I can fix this. So now you have one here like on the daily time frame where we have an imbalance of price. And so but these happen on every time frame. So you can get it down to like the 15 minute um just ran I don't know. And like anywhere from the 15 minutes. So like here's one. It's basically where you just drop through an area, but then price is going to want to come back and refill that area.
Interesting. What's the probability of it never being filled again?
I think
Does
it's
that happen often?
so on the daily. So I was looking at the daily time frame. It's pretty rare. Like I mean, there's one here. It got partially filled. But like even these end up coming back and getting filled, even if you get this massive, massive drop, price still comes back because there's a bunch of because this is basically where people just sold heavily and we dropped the market, by like 600 points on NQ. So prior to it going and falling down further, they're going to want to fill those prices again and bring it back down. So it tends to happen over and over and over. Like yeah, like it just happens everywhere on the chart.
Well, I would
Interesting.
just want to say, like, so what ends up happening is, like Trent said, like when you have these big drops, they need to bring the price back up. And it's because we have to think about what happens when there's like a huge movement like that. All these levels have a bunch of passive orders sitting there. And for price to continuously move down, the market has to then accept those prices. And because of that, it has to go back up to any of those passive orders before we could continue on that downtrend. And that's why distribution cycles, right, are a lot choppier and take a lot more time because we drop and then we have to accept. We have to drop when we have to accept. When we're on an uptrend in a bull market, right? Price acceptance is just moving up. It's just a linear path. There's nobody going to be arguing about that. And then we're just
So,
coming back now.
so to the right of the chart, where there was that fair value gap in the white long candle.
This one?
Oh yeah, that one. Like, how would you necessarily want to play that? Because if you like, look how long it actually stays above that level. Like, it's hard to know when to expect the move back down.
Right.
Would you just?
So for something on the daily, like as like for traders like us, I don't think you would go necessarily on like the daily time frame,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because like the daily ones take so long to fill out. So if you're not really like a big swing trader, it's probably not going to work out very well. But I've noticed like anywhere from like the 1 hour to the 4 hour, you can probably catch some pretty big moves in the market. So, but I was just trying to show you because I think the daily shows it pretty well, where it's just these areas of price that have only been tested or like we've only dropped through it once, like one way, and we never came back and retested it. So like here, so like this is a in inefficient market or an imbalanced market, but this right here, you have wicks on every side. So this is an efficient market or price is balanced here as it drops down.
Yeah, okay.
So what we want to really be looking for when we're trading supply and demand is going to be zones that create inefficiencies in the market and then trade when price comes back and test those. So like I guess what like I've kind of thought of it is like if you have a bunch of people that are trying to buy the market when the market moves up really quickly, like they started buying here and they just kept buying and buying and buying. And so they have leftover orders that start here and that are all in this area. So the market's going to come back and retest these prices, get them filled on their other buys that are there, and then they can finally push the price up to a new high. Because otherwise, like if the market didn't do that and people wanted to buy like $1 billion of the S&P 500, it's just going to go straight up. So like to keep price from just going straight up and straight down and getting awful fills on their huge orders, this is basically why the market moves the way it does.
So
Okay.
hypothetically, on the Nasdaq tomorrow, or maybe I don't know, it could take like 5 days or whatever. We're looking to fill that fair value gap right there.
So I'm looking
Oh
for
yeah,
this to fill right here because we have an imbalance that we've partially filled
yeah.
because once we got to here, you have an imbalance of like 500 points, right? But this was the final move that filled the imbalance down to this zone.
Mm,
So this is our demand. I was actually doing the imbalances as like gray. And so once you fill one of them and you create another before going down, like say you're going down in a downtrend, you're going to come back and fill these prices here. So that's why you'd probably look to go long once this gets filled because this was the start of the imbalance on the buy side. Now you got a bunch of sell side here and you just hit that one. And so that's when price is going to reverse and come back up into this area.
beautiful.
But then you also notice here, price creates like if you go down to the 1 hour, now you have an imbalance here because you just went straight up. So price comes back down to test, and this is the zone that created this demand right here, and you're going to bounce back up to go higher.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah, I
like
mean, you're kind of just validating your zones by making sure they have an imbalance on there, right?
right. So like on the 2 hour, so like when we first got into this area, you kind of had a 2 hour here, drop down. I don't know what you really hit, but you're in a downtrend, so you want to take trades that are in line with the trend, and have these imbalances that where they're the start of like supply and demand. Uh, And then, so like, notice you have one, you get one here too. It ends up coming to fill it. Like this is your imbalance. It ends up coming to fill it, and then it can move down again. So it seems to me like price isn't going to just go up forever or go down forever. They're going to go down and then come back and fill those prices again and then push another leg down. And that's the reason why the market basically moves in like these trending ways where it's like a big move up and then you retrace back, big move up, retrace back. And so that's kind of the main idea of it.
So how would
Type
you
up.
like personally use it yourself? Like, don't you
So
think it'll confuse you a little bit?
not too much. 'Cause I feel like it makes like the market makes sense more so.
Hmm.
And I think also on this too is I know that we usually mark zones with like a green basing for like a supply zone and then a red for a demand zone. But I noticed in this range, it's tended to miss those areas like really closely or like slightly, and we've missed out on some really good trades. Whereas the way that the videos that I was watching and how they were talking about this is it's basically the real like the smallest candle prior to a break of structure or a change of character in the market. So like this is a green candle here, so it still works, but this was the start of this move that broke the previous low. So this is a break of the market structure, and this is the smallest candle. I mean, there may be something on the 3 hour. So like even here, even on the 3 hour, this is the small candle prior to the move that actually broke the market or broke the structure of the market. So this would be your zone. So it doesn't matter whether it's green or red as your base. You just want to make sure it's a small candle, like a small bodied candle prior to the market breaking a structure.
Yeah, yeah, because I see a lot of people just mark, they don't go really based off the colors, and I mean,
Right.
it could still be the same color and it could work. So I think now in the future we should mark the full basing with with like both wicks, and then
Right.
look for like good basing candles.
So like for me, I think I'm gonna mark anything from like these time frames. It seems like the 1 to 4 hour is pretty solid for getting like the really small basing. 30, 45, 90 aren't terrible, but I don't think you need all of the, 6 hour, 8 hour, 690 minute
Yeah,
one either, because those tend to create some really large zones, and then it's hard to tell like where you want to actually take the trade at because like if you mark this as a zone, this is 10,980. The bottom is 10,870. Like, are you going to risk 100 points? No. You want something that's going to be smaller. So like, oh, this is the small candle prior to the break of the structure here, and then it works like awesome, like
yeah, it works
perfectly.
good.
So I think that's another key to this type of like strategy or trading, I guess, is mark the small basing candle prior to the drop. And so, like what I'm thinking here for NQ is a 4 hour. So like this 4 hour is the little one that was prior to this huge drop coming through, right?
So you
So
want to mark that one?
right, so this would be the target for our longs, and we've like halfway filled this imbalance of price right here, but we still have this whole way to go.
Mhm.
So, and then Friday was a really strong green candle day. So, and then we also have an imbalance here, although I don't think we're going to fill all the way down there because the 3 hour and 2 hour are pretty filled. Like this whole wick comes up here, so you really only have like on the 2 hour, there's a little tiny one here, and then another right here. So I think we can come back and retest this area because this was, previous like support and resistance. And I think this would be a great play to long all the way up into this zone because I think it looks like we're getting ready to fill this price right here. If we look on the weekly chart, let me put volume in there too. But this kind of almost invalidates the need for volume if you're going for like these bigger, bigger plays, basically. So we did get a hammer on the daily on high volume. We did, I think, slightly break the lows from the previous week, yeah, and then got bought up. So I'm pretty bullish on the week overall. The daily was really good, really strong. Same with ES. It looks like we're finally starting to break out of this area. But this is kind of what I've found. So let me mark up what I was.
Well, here's one
Yeah.
thing, Trent. Like, I know you're saying that you're going bullish, but if you go to that other time frame, like that daily or whatever else, what we could see is where we just broke that low. We could be coming back up, like you said, to that the top one on that fair value gap. Like even like there or whatever else, because you'd see there's a structure above that we broke down of, and we could see like almost like a lower high come in off of that before coming back down. Because I'm overall bearish, and that's just based off a little bit of white coffee and stuff.
Are you bearish
But
on just a single day, or like for this whole week? Are you
short
bullish or bear?
term,
Right.
yeah, short term. Like I'm short term, like Monday, Tuesday.
So
I'm
like,
expecting a spring and then overall bullish
so that's what
because I think this is an accumulation.
that's what I see with the imbalance as well on, because like we have one here. So I think in order for us to actually fill like this area up here, you're going to want to fill this first, and you have a demand zone right here under it that I think we can bounce off of.
Yeah, because even like that Wyckoff, I think I sent it to you earlier too. Like if we really look, like it's shaping up to be like a picture perfect accumulation coming out of an accumulation downtrend. So what we want to see now is a true spring, because we just saw the minor sign of weakness that rose us to the top of the structure, but we're gonna fail here. Like you said, search for counter liquidity one more time. And I'm either looking for a push down deep to like an actual spring, which is going to be lined up pretty much with the minor sign of weakness, or a little bit higher before that little drop. And then I'm longo bongo, dude.
Right.
So I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hey, yeah.
like I wouldn't doubt if we had do like a daily like rally base rally, like we base out tomorrow, maybe come down, test down here to finally push up, because I don't see us dropping much further until we fill out this daily zone right here, because this daily zone also aligns with the 2 hour zone that we really kind of want. And this is another big imbalance area. So this is the daily, and then the 2 hour is pretty much in the same spot.
If you go back to that daily really quick, I just want to see one thing. Do you see right there where we were staying on that uptrend? If you zoom out just a hair, on that last white candle, that with that big giant wick. Yeah. Or like the body of that. What happens if you draw a trend line from there all the way up? Where does that look like we would reverse at? If that makes sense.
Oh shit.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Okay. And then you draw a supply zone there on the top candle.
Yeah, there's definitely a huge one up there.
Well, I was even gonna say right before that drop. I don't know. This is interesting. I might be
Oh, up
completely off.
here.
Yeah,
So,
like
and
even on
there's
that bottom
also
wick. I don't know.
This
Yeah,
moving
that's
at.
like some resistance right there, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this, let me fix this.
That's like a little below the imbalance area, technically.
So if you go here, oh shit. Fuck.
Trent, are you a hacker? Look at
Definitely
that, dude.
not. So this is the 200-day moving average of ES, and it's lining up
Oh,
right with our fucking zone.
literally.
So that's why I like this as a rejection area for possibly like the bigger downside move. And then we can finally fall because we filled in the daily imbalance we have here, and then we can finally come down. But that's just me speculating.
And I hear big
Does that a lot.
institutions love using the 200, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It like usually touches it all the time right here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's my thought. But does that make sense for like the imbalances? So basically, it's nothing super new to how we trade supply and demand, but I think the two things would be your basing candle doesn't need to be red for demand and doesn't need to be green for supply. Just look for the small candle prior to the break of structure. So like here, you'd probably draw this and you hit it perfectly. Whereas like the old way of drawing supply and demand, or the way that we were taught in the other course, you wouldn't draw that. So you would miss out on this drop, you would miss out on this drop. Like you would miss out on a ton of trades, which is what I felt like was happening last month, and thought I was going crazy because like the zones I did have would miss by maybe like 10 points or so. Because if you draw it like the old way,
Well, I
like
remember that because you were even going like maybe we do it the whole wick, the top and bottom of the wick, and then that wasn't super consistent either, right?
right, because like here's like how we were taught in Vesta trade was to draw it. So like the basing candle has to be red for demand, and you draw it from the body to the bottom. So you miss this here, you actually hit, but you miss this one too. Whereas if you actually just draw it to the whole thing, you would catch every bounce every day. Like you would have profited if you took it like 167 points, dude, 123 points, 200 points. It's stupid.
Yeah, I started marking everything ever since you first pointed that out to include the wicks on NQ. That's how I chart NQ now.
And then something I saw on ES on Friday too. So we got the red base up here, but you have the drop that breaks the structure. So you would mark this. Then we have the data that comes out, right? Data came out at 6:30, pumped us straight into it. If you would have sold there, now you look at the 3 hour that caused that. Now you have a zone down here because so we have another imbalance of price because we pumped straight up. Once you hit it, you come straight back down, test that zone, and then you go. So like I feel like if you use this, you can catch just like most of the swings in the market by just looking at where the imbalance starts and where the other one is created, and then just playing from like zone to zone basically.
Are you only marking wicks on like the small bodied basings?
Um, Probably. So like if it's a little wider, so like I mean something like this is a little wide, I'd probably just do the top of it. So from what I was reading and everything, it was saying that if the wick of the basing candle is larger than the body, then just mark the wick of it. So I don't know if there's a good example here. But like say that like this was the basing candle and then we had a really large move, like if like it would just be like that. So you're just trying to target like the end of the zone or like where the move actually starts.
Okay.
Like even here, if you did it like that, dude, you tick it perfectly. You touch it and then drop. So like that's a good one I think right there is where the wick is larger than the body, so you just mark the wick of the basing candle. So if you put your order
I
there,
actually like that a lot.
so if you nailed so yeah, if you put your order right where the zone starts, or even like a tick in front of it, you would nail the top of that.
Well, especially with those where it's just so much pressure because the pressure is really from above, not the body.
Right, right.
I like that too.
Yeah.
But like to me it like made so much sense on how the market moves and why it moves the way it does. And it's not just really like a bunch of random kind of up and down. It's coming back to fill prices. Like there's a reason it drops really big and then comes all the way back up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Dude,
you get
2023 is the year that fucking Van Man learns tape, dude. Come to the dark side, dude. Come to
What's
the dark
that
side.
blue moving average?
That's the 200.
200.
Oh,
That's
that is the
two.
200. Oh,
Mhm.
so we're touching it right now.
I prefer diddle,
So
but
this
yeah.
is on the 3 hour. So normally when I do my
Oh, okay,
moving
okay,
average, I
okay.
pin it to the daily.
Okay.
So it's always on the daily.
Yeah.
Mm.
So going forward, here's how I was going to mark up my chart or kind of like look at price basically. So we have an imbalance here. I'll do both ES and NQ. So there's a big daily imbalance there. Notice here we filled almost all we filled all the imbalances to the upside before moving higher, minus this one. But we did fill everything eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go down to the 4 hour, see what we have. We're above here, so there's really not much. I mean, you have a supply zone here that we're in or hitting, but it has been tested once. There is a 4 hour imbalance here. But other than that, there's not much. But then here,
So
notice
basically, we're looking at a move down before we could possibly hit that imbalance up above.
that's what I'm thinking. That's my thought process. So we have this 2 hour supply up here that I really like. I know Dylan from Investa Trade's been talking about it, and that's his like main short he's looking to take. And that aligns where if we hit it, you're basically filled the imbalance of the daily. But on top of that, you have the 2 hour imbalance that's right here. So you got a big area to fill. Now, looking at this on the 2 hour, there's a small one here, which I think we could retest prior to going higher. And there's another one here. So see, it's kind of the same here as well.
Then if you enter at a zone, how do you like determine like where in the imbalance you're gonna try and target? Because sometimes it does act as resistance, but sometimes you like rip to the it's like a zone, like it sometimes bounces right away, and sometimes it like rips through and tags at the end of it.
I'd probably, I'm trying to like, I would probably size. So like, I think that's why it's also smart to like get in where it's the smallest candle prior to the push. So you don't have to risk a ton because there are times where you just tag the top of the zone and then go, which usually it should happen like that because these are going to be the plays where like the imbalance is really strong, and so you should just tag the zone pretty quickly and then move out of it.
You're really strong.
Or the inefficiency, I mean, like when like let's say you get long at that zone,
Right here.
how do
Oh,
you
over here.
determine on the first? The second one. So how do you determine where in the last downtrend? So like just to the left of your cursor to target.
I mean, for me, I'd probably target like in this area. So like you're not gonna like maybe nail the top, but I think you would want to target, something in like the last swing higher, somewhere in this area. So like basically like the last like price structure, you know.
Well, I know that there's supposed to be like SMBs, one of their play is like on something like that. You size in at that bottom, at that supply zone or demand zone, and your first PT would be that first swing high, and then you would leave a runner to go to that second swing high, and then you'd be all the way out. No. We're the top one. So we're right there. That would be your first like target,
Uh-huh.
and then you would leave a runner to go all the way up to the top, and you would
Right.
just leave your stop loss at the original stop loss or break even or some shit.
Yeah, and
And they said that supposedly happens to be like a way to hit a lot of trades. I don't
well
use
like
it though.
that too,
So
or even like as it goes up, like if you're on like the 1 hour time frame, maybe trail it under each of the candles, so like your first target's here, trail it, trail it, trail it.
I wonder if you're still in that if you're taking a long though, if you're adding. Like if you got your first one out on that first push, you put pump back down off that basing. If you add to get that pump back up, or if you would just actually like in practice, if you would be able to size back in. Like so you drop there,
Right.
and then if you're able to size back in, then because right there you could see that's where we pumped off.
Right.
So I
But
wonder if you could add there.
I mean, like for me, like if you start seeing this, like you're seeing gaps that are probably going to get filled again.
Yeah, 100%.
So like once we start going up, I'd probably start taking profits once you start seeing like the areas where, this is probably gonna come back down and fill at some point. So I think like targeting here and then, and then you see something here again where you can look to get long,
Yeah.
targeting like the swing high or, like the next swing high.
You're making me so happy right now, Daddy. I mean, Van. But what's also kind of cool is like I think you're also gonna get a lot more opportunities now. You know what I mean?
I think so
Rather
too.
than because you're gonna be able to play both sides, like you said, you're gonna be able to cut and then come back in and then get another one.
Right. So
You'll be able to play both sides.
to me, it's like I think for me, like anything on like the 1 to 4 hour is probably the main time frames I'm going to be watching and looking. Because like,
Yeah.
because
Well,
like
I
even
really like the one. I'll be honest with you. Like I chart off the one, and the value gaps and
gaps.
all that on the one are very strong.
That's what I'm
And
noticing.
there's
Because like
yeah.
here, like here again on the data. Because I know I was looking to play data on Friday, but knowing what I know now on the 1 hour, this is your like supply zone basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we tag it and then we drop perfectly. Oh, this is on ES. Never mind. I was thinking NQ because it was a little different on NQ. Like we ended up blowing through it. Granted, we stalled at it, but we didn't reverse. But on ES, the way that like the old way of marking the zones, like I didn't have a zone because there was no green or white candle for me to mark.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this way, I think the zones are just as accurate, if not more accurate, because you're actually just getting in where the move starts versus caring about what color it is.
To be honest with you, that's how I've been doing it because I thought that's how we were supposed to be doing it. So another point to be a failure. Let's go.
I mean,
No,
here
but I like
too.
marking the top of the wick. I think the top of the wick is going to be game changing.
I mean, even here too. Like this is the start of this big move down that breaks the structure. This is where it started. Granted, it like wicked here and everything. So like you wouldn't be able to take this, right? Like I don't think you'd be able to short this. Maybe you would, because you're touching this area up here. But
I
once
think
you
you'd
come,
probably be able to do it after you get off that under the exhaustion. In that
but
last push.
right, but like once you come down and then you come back to touch it, like this was a huge drop. So this would be a great place to short, and you get rewarded like right away. 39.85 or 38.95 to 48. That's like a 50-point move in 2 hours or whatever.
Are you still using like the same 2 hour trend rule with this, or
I think I that's something I need to think about. I mean I think it's smart, but I think you're going to get a reaction at any of these areas because they create such a large imbalance of price.
so you could at
Grant,
least like scalp it?
granted, like going with the trend, I think you're going to get bigger moves. So like currently on NQ, I think we're probably going to fall down. So you may be able to take it short, but I don't think we're going to drop down to here because you have these like these areas here that are probably going to hold price up. So like I have a 30-minute demand zone right there, which is right under like the gap right here that's on the 30. So usually you're taking zones where the imbalance is going to fill in, and then there's a zone that like started it. So this is the zone that started it. So I'm looking for this to drop down, taking anything long here, and once we're full
There's a
there, yeah,
there's a little gap right there on the 32, isn't there?
this one,
No top.
yeah.
Where the basing is. Yeah, right there.
I mean,
Really?
like this. I mean, so I'm not totally sure if like the Wix previous count because it kind of is it's like up down, but there's definitely a zone here because yeah, we just ran straight up. So we only came back to test this area.
Oh, so what I've been doing, Ben, just so you know,
Yeah.
is when you're saying like I don't know if you count I'd count those.
Okay. So like this
I
is the
usually count
actual
those.
imbalance right here.
I would even maybe possibly like if you zoom in a little bit, like see like almost if I'm trying to figure out like if it's a shave candle or not, like see how that's kind of a shaved candle on that pump, so I would leave it. But like if that other candle pushed down enough
This
on
one?
the pump up, no, on the pump up, believe it or not. So if that pumped up, right, and like let's say that one had a more of a bottom wick, like let's
Right.
say like it retraced a little bit more, then I would actually mark that at that level instead of letting it go all the way up to there.
Right. Okay.
So it'd be moved down. But that's
I
just
will-
me fucking around with it again, just not knowing what I'm doing.
But also you'll see like on the lower time frames, like there's just less of it. So like on the 15-minute, like this is all great. Like you have a little one here maybe, but I mean, I feel like there's gonna be small ones here and there. We're more so looking for like the larger ones, right? So
Mhm.
like this is good, this is good. There's a tiny one here from this top wick to this bottom wick. There's a little one here that we started to fill in. So there's a couple there, but like you go to the 1 hour, you have, a whole area that you haven't really touched yet.
So this is more valid on longer time frames. It seems like.
I mean, I think it works on every time frame, and I think like the ICT people that like trade off like the 2 minute and stuff, like do it on those really small time frames too. But I think for me, it makes more sense and it's easier for me to see like on like the 1 hour to 4 hour type of time frame.
Yeah, it definitely looks easier to see at least.
Because
I'm
like if you go
wondering.
like you go down to like a 5 minute,
Shout
yeah,
out, Atomic.
it's a lot more noise to look through.
If you have like, say, a zone gets created on the 4 hour with a gap, and then inside that zone there's a 30-minute one, like deeper down, which
Uh,
one would you want to take the trade off of?
I'd probably look to enter probably on the 30 if it can get tested because that goes back to like the order blocks or like the order blocks that form within supply and demand or like right at the zones too.
Hmm.
Well, so like Dylan, the only way I'm gonna answer that too, just because I'm gonna jump in, is like what we went over last week and everything else. Like if you're coming up to that level, use that level 2, and then that level 2 will be able to validate those intermediate zones. Does that make sense? So like if
Yeah,
it's a, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you'll possibly even see a bunch of passive orders near those
That's what I'm
areas.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Like you'll use those passive orders to either justify and validate that level or not, pretty much. So if it comes up to like a supply zone or like a gap that you're supposed to run up to, like let's say you come up to a gap that you're supposed to run, and there's little demand and like a ton of supply, I'm not gonna play that to the upside until I see that supply melt off. And then that mostly will happen at that higher 4 hour block, the one that's higher up, or vice versa, or whatever else.
hmm.
Hey,
It's
can you
like
redraw that imbalance on the 1 hour on NQ? I was trying to see where you put it.
so it's basically where the big candles are and where the wicks stop. So where the wicks have like tested like this big area that we just ran straight up on. It's just where the wicks
So it wouldn't go to the bottom of that second rally candle.
here.
Yeah.
No, because because we just kept going straight up. So it would go to so I mean, if you were live or whatever, that and you see this, then this whole thing is now like an imbalance because we've never tested it from the top side. But then once you start pushing down, then the area starts to close off.
Oh, okay.
Ben, in that 1 hour, like, are you marking that zone so like when you tag the supply zone above, you have a better profit target? Are you looking to trade off like the inefficiency?
Off of this one up here,
No, the 1 hour you just marked,
this one right here,
right above it.
this zone.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not looking to trade off of this. I'm looking just for this to get filled down to our demand zone, and that's where I want to start looking long.
Okay.
So like the gray areas are like where I want to be in a trade or like where I'm looking for price to like retrace basically. So like on the 4 hour, yeah. So like this is the start of the 4 hour up here, but we have this big imbalance right here. So I want to, and I'm thinking that we're going to come up and fill it because we filled all like everything down here. We just have a little bit down here, and due to like the daily and the weekly time frame, I'm thinking we're going to push up in the next few days. So
So are you using those grays as like if you're in a trade, you hold through the grays, and if you're not in a trade, you're risk off until you hit like a supply zone or a demand zone?
I was just using them to like mark it so I can kind of see it on the chart better. That's
Okay.
all.
Okay. That's nifty. I
So
like it.
yeah, because it like if not, then I'm not going to know where everything's at.
Mm-hmm.
But like seeing them helps me, I guess, you know.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
But
Because seeing them is
yeah,
believing.
so like I think we're going to try and fill this here, but now that we're creating smaller time frame ones, these usually tend to get filled as like kind of like the pullback areas going into the larger area. So I would look to long. I mean, if we get down here, I really hope we do, because I think you could swing this from about 11,000 up to like 11,300. But once we hit this area, this is going to be an area that I really want to short because this move is so strong, breaks the market structure, huge drops, and then you got the small basing candle prior. So I think in a
But
perfect
off
world,
that short, where would you look for? Where do you think that short? Because for me, because I agree, like that would be a beautiful area to short. But in like my mind, I would only be taking that down to basically where that supply zone's at.
that's yeah, I think that would
That's
be
the same for
my
you.
target too,
Okay.
yeah. But I
Okay.
mean, because I mean, even taking it there, I think you still get a pretty good risk to
Oh
reward, even
hell
if you
yeah.
take it at the bottom of the zone, the stop over the high. Yeah, it's still like a 2 to 1.
Yeah, that's fine.
But then I think
And that's
also
conservative.
once the market starts to form structure up here, you can use that to also target, like an area as well.
Hmm.
But I think this top is going to have to get retested from the downside as well, kind of like on EES here. You're probably going to hit this. If you do sell off, you're going to come back and retest this area just because it's such a strong area that's been holding.
Are you waiting for your volume signals for these, or are you just saying fuck VPA?
I was just gonna go in at the start of the zone and stop above the high, and then kind of see what happens, and then maybe add into it if I get like a VPA or something. But I think
Mm-hmm.
watching on kind of like the higher time frames too is gonna help some. I know that helped me a lot on Friday because I was starting to long stuff like up here based off the 1 hour versus looking at like the 15-minute was a little bit harder. You're seeing wicks and stuff. But
Yeah.
seeing like the bullish and golfing candle here on the 1 hour made me think, all right, this is finally going to break because I know we had tested this a bunch of times.
We haven't broken it yet, though, right?
So we
The
broke
top.
this area, the 1150 area that we had tested like 5 or 6 times. This one right here,
Yeah.
and like the 1 hour is what made me think we were going to break it because we shot up, shot down. It was like a failure basically. Like you failed to go up, failed to go down. Now it's going to actually go up.
I fucking hope so. But I feel like going into tomorrow, probability wise, do you think shorting the top of the range would be smarter?
I
I
do
might
think
even
we could get a
short.
reaction here because I've been waiting for this little 30-minute zone, this little tiny ass zone right here to hit because that was the zone I've been targeting. It never hit here, which I wanted to short, huge drop. And then we
Did you
never hit
miss
it
that
here.
one?
What's that?
You missed that one?
Yeah, fucking yeah, it
Oh,
sucked.
hugs, dude.
So you're not counting like you could see how the momentum of those candles started slowing down, and it's very close to that range you were looking for. Why wouldn't you take a short there?
Because it
He's
just wasn't part of my
disciplined.
rules. Because usually I need the zone to
Uh,
hit.
Like
But
that fucking oil trade.
Yeah, oil. Oh, also, yeah, on oil, something to note. If
Tim, you
you would
want to
have
talk about it?
taken,
No, fuck you.
if you would have used the rule of just doing the smallest basing candle prior, look at where it hits.
Dude, stop.
You would have nailed that,
Wouldn't
dude. It would have been like an $8 trade on oil.
Oh
wouldn't you have just done the wick though? Because it's bigger than the
See, I
body.
know. So like that's where it kind of comes in. Yeah, where do you do the whole
Uh,
small candle or just the wick?
well, in this scenario, the candle body would have been preferable, right?
Right.
Yep.
But you don't know, like is it going to hit here and reject? Is it going to come up here and reject? But I
Well,
know
over time, you would see what happens more, right?
right. I mean,
But here's
That's-
my thing: why not just add it all and then use either some sort of DOM, even if it is that book map,
well
right? Because
like
then that's going to show you exactly where you're at
well,
and where
so
that
like
liquidity is going to be.
so like this hit for me at 1 in the morning. I wasn't awake, but if I would have put an order
Oh, I
there,
remember that. You were pissed.
yeah, dude. This was like an $8,000
Yeah,
trade. Yeah, it's
It
fucking
yeah,
fucking
wild.
dude.
3 a.m. to me.
Dude, yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
So like my thought is maybe get in at the beginning of the zone and start adding once it starts going in your favor. So like if you got in here on half size and then you wake up and you see this, we've dropped down here, why not add another half? Now your order's here, you can put a stop above the high and then target your areas. Because
That's
that's because
crazy.
that's because like if you get that drop, like that's probably going to be the top. It's a huge drop. It's one of the largest candles on the chart. It's probably not going to break this high before it goes down and hits your target.
What do you think? What do you think about piecing up stops?
What do you mean?
Like, let's say you get in at the top range, right? And you need the play to breathe a little bit. Would you ever size out but keep a runner almost as like a loser?
I don't think I ever
Just to
would. No.
no. I don't know if I would either. No, I was reading it the other day.
I know there
And no,
are people that size in and out. Yeah.
I just don't know. I think that's crazy. I just wanted
I
to
hear that more
think about it.
successful traders will size in rather than size out.
Yeah.
Well, this was like about piecing up your stops because I read it in like SMB. It was like the good traders size like piece up their stops, and I'm like, I don't know, I like that.
That seems pretty advanced to me.
Yeah, it is.
I think
But
first I would
like, I
need to
still don't
master
like
like
that.
sizing in, where like you size in. So like maybe you have an order here and an order here, and then your stops above the high or whatever. But say
Hmm.
your first order only got filled here, and now you're starting to drop, and then you size in again. So maybe your average is here, and then your stop is tighter than where you started. So like because like these zones are basically just like an area where you're thinking a top or bottom is
Just
going to
area of
form.
interest. Yeah.
Like you don't know where it's going to happen. So when it does form, then you can move it in, and now your stop is a lot tighter. And then if you average in, like you're risking the same amount if you risk like a half size here for this much versus like a full size here for this much.
Oh, 100%.
And that
100%.
black candle would technically count as a fair value gap a little bit, right? Up top.
Up here.
No, to the right, where that circle is. Like
So
that area.
there isn't really a gap because this is the only gap there is because it filled like the wicks filled
Both
everything.
ways.
Now you go on a little lower time frame, like you have a 3 hour here, and I like this zone a lot. I actually have this one marked on my chart because you do have a gap here. So usually you want to look for the imbalances that happen right after a zone forms.
Oh,
Why
right.
not layer
Okay.
on? Why not even layer on like key levels with that? Because there's a very clear key level. Like somewhat halfway, like go into that zone a little bit. Nope. Zoom in. Yep. Down a little bit on that doji. Up on the body of the doji. Right there. Yeah, like you could booster with the level in there. And that's a little added confluence too for that level to swing and go short off that.
Right. So like here you're looking for that to fill. It's probably going to hit and then fall back down to some area is my guess. But
I like it. I like it. Ooh. I like it like that.
So
too.
yeah, so like that kind of made me mad too, looking at fucking oil. Where if you would have just played the, so I mean, it's kind of like what you feel too, because there is this like this 3 hour that I had, and it just fucking missed it, and that was the one I was looking to play. So I mean, it's kind of hit and miss, but I know over December there was like 2 or 3 trades that missed my zone, like my old way of marking zones by, anywhere from 10 to 20 points, and it made me miss a trade that was over like 250 points. So it seems kind of stupid to, really try and pinpoint your entry like for an extra 10 or 20 points when you're missing out on 200 if you don't get it.
I think just covering the whole basing is what I'll start to do, so I'm not missing shit like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then use the gaps as more confirmation, I guess.
Right. So like, so like I do this whole thing. You're probably going to hit something up here. I'm guessing, like you could go up to 311,400, but yeah. So this is kind of how I have my charts marked. I'll go to them actually. So I
Yeah,
have
what? I like that little purple box.
Yeah, you like that?
I do, dude.
So it's my little like
Nifty.
trend channel. So we broke the
I
channel.
like it.
I really want to see us come back and retest it, and like this is the trade that I want. So risking like 70, 75 points for about 300.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, that looks dope.
There's also kind of a trend here, but I don't know if we're gonna come. Oh shit, wrong one.
Do you trade it off Trading View?
No, I don't. I actually might start if I can, because if I'm taking these like bigger plays where I don't have to manage them so closely, I might start.
Wait, so Trent, go to the bottom, go down. Nope, to the left. Nope, zoom in. You're right. Yeah, all right, stop right there. No, to the left. Just mouse it over. Yep. Now, if you draw a trend line to the bottom of that candle. Yep, and then go across. Nope, down. Yep, somewhere like that, and then extend that over.
Oh, I also had, I had that one actually. Hold on. Now I know what you're talking about because I had this too.
That's
but I
gonna be
didn't
added
fully
confluence
mark it.
to. Look at that trend. I like that thing. I've never seen that before.
So like that's kind of also too, like I want that to hold. Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
So like this is kind of like the long zone for me, like anywhere from 1140 to 11,000, and then a stop under the low. Like
Here's a
two.
question. If we break underneath that, if we're just looking at that, you can almost see like somewhat like a wedge between those channels. Right? So we could say we failed. And if we fail up here, would you say we're almost gonna have like a failed failure to the downside?
That's what I would think. But
Right? Like would you
knowing what I know now about like filling in the imbalances, I think we have to fill this before we drop bigger.
Mm,
But that's just my
okay.
thought.
Okay.
But if
I
we
just didn't
did,
know if you
yeah,
would count
this
that
is
as a
definitely a
failed failure.
failed failure. If you break here, you don't fit you don't go farther down, you come up, you don't go any higher. Yeah.
But it's also technically not a failure because it respected the resistance there, technically.
Well, I'm saying on the overall wedge with the trend line.
Yeah.
Like if you
Oh
look at
yeah.
those two trend channels, we break to the downside and then break to the upside. If we break back down to the downside. I really like those trend channels.
Parallel channels.
Well, that's how I draw my trend lines on TOS. But I just can't make the boxes like that. I only draw parallel trend lines nowadays.
Right, just to give you like a little zone.
I just like it more, yeah, and they usually respect better. And if they don't fall into that, then I just don't play them. Because I'm always looking like for like ranges and structures, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to be more in channels and everything. I like that level too.
Yeah, so I kind of have that too on ES.
So you're going for the bullish play, and then at the top of that, you're going for a bearish play.
Yeah, Yeah, so since this one was such a strong drop, I think you're going to get some sort of reaction up here because this is like the strongest drop on, minus this up here. This is the second strongest one on the whole chart. But like for me, this almost makes volume kind of invalid. Like you don't even need the volume. You can just play like the levels and like the structure of the market.
And then you could layer on some Wyckoff with that, and now you're cooking with fire.
Right. Thank you for making me draw that in because I did have that, and then I redid all my charts using these zones and stuff.
I like it.
But yeah, this I really want this to hit because if this hits, I'd be so happy.
It just validates all the hard work that you just studied.
Basically, yeah, I'd be like,
Yeah.
like I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So this is the zone, anywhere from 1130 to like 11,000. If you can get a fill there, I think you'd be good.
I honestly agree with that. I just think that I wanted to see more slippage personally.
Right.
But
So what I'm thinking too is we have this little weird ass tiny fucking 30-minute that I think might cause some sort of reaction. Like I think you could fake out like the retail traders here who are going to take the break of this long, definitely, where you have this little zone here and you could reject it and then fill in this area down here.
like I'm looking for a spring. Like we might not push all the way to the bottom of the structure at all, but I think we might
Down
ping
here?
pong. Yeah, like I really want it to be. I'm short minded to the downside aggressively. Just based strictly on like Wyckoff, but yeah, no, I think we could totally just rally. To be honest with you.
I really want this level to be retested from the upside just because we hit it just so many times.
Yeah.
I would really love for this to come back, fake out anyone to the downside thinking that we failed, and then get long in this area.
That's such a beautiful play.
I
And we
know,
have
right?
CPI too.
That I know, which also kind of scares me.
Yeah.
That could actually switch everything.
Well, it might be that the aggressive tag that you need on the counter liquidity to run them stops to get that upward movement.
Well, if you notice what Dylan does, usually his entries are on those big plays. So like last CPI, he got short when we tagged this area right here, and he caught this whole move to the downside.
Beautiful. Good for him.
A lot of food.
I know, dude.
Yeah.
So much fucking food. Just the best food ever, too.
I love that.
But let me pull up, because I know, let's see, economic calendar. What do we got? Powell is speaking on Tuesday. Oh, shit.
I didn't have that.
I wonder if
It's
it's
7
we were to
a.m.
hold,
Oh wait, that's Central Time, you fucking weirdo.
No, this is Mountain Time, bro.
Oh, that's what I meant.
So it looks like really just Powell on Tuesday and then CPI on Thursday. CPI, I don't know. I'm getting like sketched out on CPI plays now just from last time and like just the like moves that they keep doing prior to it. So we'll see where price is at when we want to play it, but I don't know if I'm going to play it like we usually do with the limit orders. I probably will, but I'm probably not going to go super big on it.
man,
Yeah,
if we were to
CPI
get
is
in
good
earlier
luck.
in the week, like you definitely have to trail your stop before CPI, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Well, I mean, if CPI comes in lower, like honestly, I was planning as long as this zone area holds and we come back and test and it holds, I'm pretty confident that we're going to touch this at some point prior to getting down here. But I want to
I
see
fucking
this.
hate the word
I
prior.
want to see this area hold. So if we were going into CPI and we hit this and we were coming up here, I'd probably just hold it and then put my stop down here and just let it ride.
Really?
I think so.
What a bad.
Because as long as CPI isn't higher, which I don't think it's gonna be, like we're gonna pump.
Pump, pump, pump it up. Don't you
but I
know
really
that
want this
they're-
zone to hit too. Like, and just due to the imbalance, like I think that's where price has to go next because that's really the only places where we're really imbalanced anywhere. I think everything
Like I said,
here.
I think you're 100% right. I just think we need a little bit more fuel for that fire.
Right. Yeah. So like yeah, so now we're kind of bullish. Everyone thinks we're bullish. So it would make sense to me to fake out the retail traders thinking we're going to go long. Maybe we hit up a little bit higher, come back down, and then retest this area. And that's where I think you're going to get the fuel to move up to like these bigger levels.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing: if we go sideways,
You could also go
too.
sideways.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if we go sideways, like for a couple of days, I could literally see us like it's gonna just. I'm just saying, like, to retest that trend line, it's just gonna get deeper. You know what I mean?
This one right here.
Yeah, like if we go sideways, instead of it's gonna get deeper in for the downward move for the retest.
I mean, like right where these both align, you're looking at hitting it on Tuesday, or let's see,
Okay.
or like Monday at the end of the day. So this is Monday. Monday at 4 is right here.
Huh.
So maybe yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. We may like have like a daily type of basing candle where we come back down like a black
We rallied a shit
basing
ton.
candle, and then that is give us a rally type of look.
Mm-hmm. And we slow bled the other day too, right?
But yeah, we got Fed chair. What is he talking about? I don't
Money.
even know. But nothing else besides inflation, and then jobless claims that'll be big too. Oh, you got jobless claim. Let's see. And then just a Fed speaker. Oh, and then Michigan consumer sentiment.
That might be big.
So not a huge news week, which is, I mean, I guess Thursday is, but other than Tuesday, Pal, and Thursday that, not that bad.
Now our next big news week, I think, is we have PPI on the 18th.
Yeah,
I
PPI.
think that's like it's CPI and then the PPI, and then um we have consumer sentiment on the 27th again. I think that's about like it for the news. It's nothing crazy this month, to be honest with you.
Thank
And really
God.
lackluster FMMC. That was very
I
shitty.
fucking knew that it was gonna just be total shit. I fucking knew it.
Uh-huh. Well, dude, whatever. It's just minutes. It's just a waste of fucking time.
Right,
Minutes are
because all they
just a
say is
waste.
the same shit. They're like, "Well, we'll just keep an eye on it and do what we got to do." Like, thanks, got it.
Yeah, we're just doing what we did before, and if anything changes in the meantime, we'll wait until the next time. I'm right. It's like this was a waste. Thank you.
So does all
Ben,
that
do you
make?
think you can?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you think you
Yeah,
can
just-
drop some of the stuff you found helpful with the inefficiencies in the trading resources channel? 'Cause I just want to hammer it in before Monday.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Does that all make sense on it though?
Yeah, no, for sure. I learned a lot.
Like I feel like that helped
that-
me a ton.
That was
Uh,
really interesting with the
that 3 hour
inefficiencies.
demand that you have down there, or I'm assuming that's what it is,
So
because that's what I had.
I had it was like a 6 hour. I don't even know if I want to use the 6 hour.
Well, I was just looking at it and I'm seeing that like after we have that big wick that comes back and retests it, there's not really a imbalance there. So is that
Right.
not really something you'd look at taking along on?
I probably wouldn't look to play it again, no, because I think once we come up here, like this whole area is like filled in. You're probably gonna drop through this area, is my guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, like you do have a 6 hour, but I don't know if I want to keep marking like those really higher time frame areas.
I think
I
they're a
mean,
waste, to be honest with you.
do you?
Yeah.
Because like, and then you have, because like I know the 8 hour.
I marked the no. I have one chart. I marked the 8 for like general overall market concepts and like context, and then I just use the 1 and the 15.
It's like you can kind of because I feel like if you can see something on the 8 hour, you're gonna get something on the 4 because it's just taking a
It's
candle
just
and slicing
fractality.
it in half.
Yeah.
So I did get rid of the 6 hour and the 8 hour. So I was just looking at these basically like the 1 to 4 hours is going to give you that really small candle prior to a big drop or rally. And then seeing this on the 4 hour too, the inverted hammer at the lows. Fuck, should have took that long just right there.
Yeah, but that's a lot of top wick.
That's my
Yeah.
favorite. That's my favorite candle pattern.
Is it really that long ass top wick? That thing, I always look at it like,
When
oh,
it's
they're
at the bottom
suffocating
of a
price.
trend, when it's because you can put your risk to reward because you can buy here, put your risk here, and then you get like
And
a
then just
60.
maximize.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, is there any
Diamond
questions
hands.
on the imbalances or inefficiencies? Like,
I got one more. I'm not
yeah,
trying to be the retard, but
no.
so is the main goal of the inefficiencies to get one that's but like we have here, like but that one that's before a zone, it fills, and then we take the rejection off of it? Are we looking for a rejection off a zone to make the market efficient? If that makes sense.
Like, yeah, so like the market becomes efficient once it fills in the imbalance, but the
Right.
zone that created it is going to give you a big reaction off of it. So like
Okay.
that's why like Dylan takes like the only like really strong zones, right? Because he's taken ones that have the imbalance that's just fucking massive. Like he has this zone marked, and then he has this one marked because you just have these huge like just straight moves up, straight move down. And so like that's kind of like the reasoning behind it, which I don't even know if he knows like that's why, but that's why his zones work out so fast and so well.
Okay. So when it hits a zone, you're looking for it to be in a current inefficient market, it to hit the zone and then make the market efficient by filling it.
So the market becomes efficient prior to the bounce. So like the market will be balanced here once it hits this area.
Right.
So like it balances as it's going through this gray box. But then the zone that created it first, once it's all filled, is probably going to give a reaction to the downside because the move was so strong. But like on the way to fill it, like you're probably going to create its own imbalances here as well. And so it's kind of like in an uptrend, you're going to create like imbalances to the buy side. So the retracements are going to be smaller, and they kind of fill in. And once you hit that like original buy zone, that's where it's going to shoot back up and create the next leg, basically.
Okay.
So like to me, like the imbalances kind of give me an idea of where I think price is going to go in the future. So like that's why I think we're going to fill higher versus dropping down through this zone because one, now we're finally on top of this area and we have a big imbalance up here whereas down here there's really not that much. You have a little one here prior to this zone, but that's the only imbalance you have. So price is going to look to go fill the imbalance first prior to anything else. And so that's why I think we're going up versus down because everything here is filled. Like this is a balanced market, whereas this is imbalanced. But you're making
Okay.
these smaller imbalances on the way up that are probably going to come back, retest, and then you're going to finally get this big drop or big move up to fill this one.
I could feel the edge, you know?
Right? Right?
For real. That's crazy.
I
And
like it.
Ben, you're still not interested in like the order block stuff for entries?
I mean, I know IDOT General's been doing it. He's been like killing it. So I think that's a possibility for sure.
Well, you could for sure just add it to the list of Confluence
Right. Oh yeah, definitely.
with passive orders like Nick was talking about.
Cause like, let's see, I'm trying to think.
Change of character is also kind of huge in a trend. Like that's not like you're not gonna get fake outs that often
Right,
with
right,
it.
right. So like yeah, so like you're just talking about when you hit a zone, basically look for like a smaller time frame zone to form after you hit it, and then take that trade.
Right.
Because I was looking, trying to see where that. Yeah, I like know what you're talking about. Like you get something up here where you hit this zone, maybe create this right here, like this little tiny zone, and then you take it short once you retest that little tiny area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't that exactly ICT though?
Yeah,
Like in a nutshell? Okay. I was just making sure.
ICT has some fucking really complicated shit too. Like I tried to like watch that guy's YouTube channel and he was talking in another language.
that's how I felt
ICT?
too.
To some dude on YouTube?
Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
mean,
like a whole community.
this is all kind of part of it, but he goes
The
into
inner
like
circle trader?
yeah.
Yeah.
ICT, yeah, you know me.
So like
Oh
this way
yeah.
just shows that like the zone that you're playing is probably valid, you know? Whereas whereas like previously we would just take trades at the zone as they hit. But to me, I feel like you don't necessarily have to do that if you're looking at trades where you're drawing a zone that breaks the market structure to begin with. So you're not drawing like these weak ass zones that don't do that. You're drawing zones where this is the start of the break of this structure. So this is probably going to hit and bounce.
Ben, with the order block stuff, aren't you looking for like going like a 5 minute time frame and then looking for the change of character in that? I think it's what I got from the video you sent me. I could be wrong.
No, yeah, yeah. That so I dot general was using the 10-minute. But yeah, basically yeah, like you're going down to like the lower time frames, which I'm not a huge fan of using them per se, but just because there's I don't know, I feel like I get faked out and shit on the 5 minute all the time. But for me, I think this is a good way to give you kind of like a bias too on the day as well. You know, where all right, we're pushing back up, we failed down here. If this fails, then we're probably going to drop. But you got a big zone here that hasn't been filled for a while, and we're probably looking to fill it, is my guess. And then you have a really strong zone up here that we're looking to short that also aligns with the 2 hour and the 200-day moving average on ES.
Yeah, that looks like a beautiful play.
I know. I'm hoping it works. I know Dylan from InvestiTrade wants to short that, or he's looking to short it, I think.
A lot of wings.
Full port, man.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
curious to see how everything plays out. I'm definitely going to be watching these levels.
I am too, because I've like if it plays out the way I think it will, it'll make like everything valid to me. And if it doesn't, then I'm just like, well, fuck, maybe I'm stupid.
Back to VPA.
Well, the VPA still works during the day too, but I feel like this is
I
the way to
really want to
capture
learn
like
about that because I
bigger
don't
moves.
really know.
So let me go over Friday. I can do that for everybody because I feel like Friday was a pretty good example of volume and looking at how volume works and stuff. So like I think the main thing is like the VPA doesn't really work when we're choppy because volume will spike in the chop and doesn't mean anything. So if you're in just like a area that's just going back and forth, it doesn't really help you. It's more so for when we're trending. But going up on Friday, so you get the big drop down. You obviously have a zone here, so you're thinking this is probably going to reject, but you don't know if it will. Granted, if you know about like the imbalances getting filled and all that stuff, I feel like that gives me more confidence to take something long or short without the volume coming in first, you know. But to me, this is kind of like a morning star type of play where you get the big candle down, small body candle, and then big candle push, which is a reversal pattern, right? So you reversed at a zone. Notice that you get this big candle push on higher volume too. So this to me is a sign to go long here. So this would be like a long. on this candle right here, based off of us coming out of the zone and the candle pattern. Because if the sellers were strong, this could have been a basing candle on low volume for another leg down. So you don't really know. But this candle basically confirms that the sellers are actually pretty weak. We had a lot of strong buying, and we were able to close at the open of this candle and started to push into the wick. So this shows strong buying, right? And so in a trend, you're usually looking for volume spikes at the peaks or at the pullback areas. So volume spiked here. This is where you get long. Now where your stop is, it's kind of hard to gauge too because you've already pushed so far versus if you would have got in here. But if you
Well,
got
it
in
would have to
long
be on the
here,
top of the basing wick, right?
what's that?
It would have to be on the top of the basing wick, right? Like where you
Where
want to
like
get in.
here?
Yeah.
Probably something there, maybe like a little bit lower.
Yeah.
But so you failed to go higher, failed to go lower. Failed failure usually means you're going to go the direction of the first move, so which is what we started to do, and everything is showing that bounce in this area, the volume showing a big push up, candle pattern showing a reversal pattern. So this is your long. Now you're looking to target either like the next area, or if you're basing it on volume, you want to get out on a volume spike usually. So you get this next candle. Now, this could be considered like a reversal type pattern, but notice the volume is really low. This is now the lowest volume candle on the day. So you're not really getting a spike at the highs. So you would hold this to see what the next candle does. So now you get a push, and notice that this candle closes in the previous wicks. Started to wick. We actually broke, it looks like they broke the high by like a tick or so. Volume hasn't spiked, and the body is closing in the high of this wick up here. So this is kind of like a low volume push. So like this is the reversal candle pattern, but you don't get the volume that says this is probably gonna reverse. And now you get the lower volume push that closes into this. So if you weren't long here, I think this is another good area to go long. And now if you have like levels drawn or like a target, you're above this area, you're probably going to target this area. But to me, like this is a long because even though there is a wick, it's only about a third of the candle and 2/3 is body. So it's still strong buying. Next candle, another bullish candle, almost no wick at the top, really no wick at the bottom. So once this candle closed, it was just straight buying the entire time. There's a little wick up top, but still there's no spike. So there's no reason to get out. Nothing says get out, and you're right in the middle of an area that looks like it's probably going to hit your target. So you get another candle. Now this one looks like it may reverse, right? But again, the volume tells you that if this is going to fall, it's probably just a pullback in the overall trend. So you wouldn't be worried about going or like getting out of your long. I mean, it may pull back, which is why like an entry down here is a lot better versus longing the highs. Because here we've had, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles in a row. So like an hour and 15 minutes of just straight buying. So this may be due for a pullback, but I don't think this is going to be the very top of it due to the volume. So you
Ben, can you mark the 15-minute demand that we like originally had to play off of, and then go into like the 5 or the 3? I'm just curious what the order block kind of would give you for an entry as opposed to VPA there.
Yeah.
Okay, so your change of character would be after the wick, right, or the body?
Probably be right here. Like this is your change of character right here. So
Okay.
you'd probably be getting. So I mean, this is another candle that looks kind of like bearish, but I think it's more so of a bullish candle coming out of the zone.
That's not like the best example for order blocks. Like you would do like a 1 hour zone in the 5 minute.
Right.
Were we previously looking at the 15?
Yeah. So like
the candle looks so much nicer.
So if you're struggling on like the 5 minute, I would recommend going to the 15. it filters out a lot of the shit.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
That's what
The
I
15
take.
is the
compared.
magic,
That's what
dude.
I trade off on on like any given day is usually the 15-minute
I haven't
versus.
tried it just yet, but like watching this right now, it just looks so much nicer.
Oh yeah, it's way nicer.
Like, it doesn't have to be that example, but like, do you think we can like find like a demand
Yeah.
that played, and we can find like where we would have entered on VPA versus where we would have entered on like a change of character on a smaller time frame?
Yeah. Let me
All right,
finish
cool.
this really fast and then
All right,
we'll do
cool.
it. So okay, so we had the lower volume on the highest candle of the rally. That's not so that's gonna so that basically says like this is probably gonna be a pullback if anything. And so that's what I was watching too for like a pullback to get long as well. But we had this really low volume and you barely pulled back at all. So kind of waiting here again. And then another like low volume, just doji type of candle. So to me, this said that buying is really strong because usually you're going to get some sort of pullback in a trend, but if the trend is strong, it doesn't really pull back, and so you're not getting any volume spikes. You're getting nothing that's pulling back, and then we got this candle, and finally this candle spiked, and so this is where I called out in the chat. I said you can probably scalp this short, but the trend is really strong, so you're probably going to take profits pretty fast. But notice that this is the spike of volume from the first move, basically. And so this is where you're probably going to see more of a pullback, if anything. But notice how bullish the candle is too. Like
Yeah.
it's big. It barely has a wick. It looks just like this one right here, but you do get the volume spike. So that's why I think you could scalp it short. The next candle didn't really do much, but then we started to drop a little bit. But this too,
Interesting.
usually when the volume spikes at the highs, the volume is going to kick back in and spike again at the bottom of the retracement of the move. So like you get your impulse move up, you get the retracement back down. When the volume spikes again on the retracement, you're probably going to see another leg up. So you didn't really retrace here at all. I mean, you got a little bit, like really nothing. You like you didn't even retrace the full body of that last candle until you started to push up again and volume started to kick in. So again, this would be where you probably
Yeah,
want to
but
take a
if you
long.
also look at where that doji is, right?
This
If
one.
you're talking about like that, yeah, that doji. If you go back to what you're talking about with like that fair value-ish almost,
Mm-hmm.
look exactly where it ran back to and bounced at. Right?
Right.
The bottom
Right.
of it is pretty much at that same level, right?
Right.
Coming back to that pump candle and coming back and then pushing back up.
Right. So like it fills in like the area here,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get
Yeah.
volume kicking back in.
Interesting.
So then volume kicks back in when the retracement is over because you didn't really get a good like reversal candle and volume spike at the high. And so this is where you could take another long. And this is like right where I went long again. So I went long here, and then nothing happened, and then you get the big volume spike breakout, and then we just kept running pretty much most of the day. So you get
Damn, that's crazy.
yeah. So it's like if you know how to look for volume, it helps a ton. But like on the 5 minute, it's a lot harder because there's so many spikes. It's hard to tell like what is what. So like kind of get like you get the
Wow, I'm really gonna look into the 15-minute a bit more.
you should, man. It's awesome. I think most people here use the 15.
It's magical.
So like here, like you
Fucking
get the
magic.
low volume type of pullback, and then volume kicks in again on the breakout. But the five just has so many like ups and downs that it's hard. It's a lot harder to read. Whereas like the 15-minute, you get like a few spikes here and there, and they just mean a lot more.
I guess maybe you don't get as scared too looking at the
Right.
candles.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because like here you're looking at like a bunch of pullbacks, black candles, yeah. Whereas the 15, I mean, it's pretty much clear that we're just going straight the fuck up. Like just like white candle after white candle, and then the black
For
candles are
real.
nothing. And then yeah, you get another spike and then a double spike, and then you pull back a little bit, but yeah, that was it. All right, let's go to. So where would we have? I think. Let's see. I know we had a 1 hour here, but I think this just hit and just reversed. I don't know if there's anything on the 5 minute. So that one doesn't have any zone that forms.
I could be wrong. I could ask IDOT about it, but I feel like you can put your stop below the low if you get that change of character instead of at the bottom of the zone.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But like that's what I would do anyways. Like even if I had an order right here and then we started to push up, like I would bring my stop in. Usually,
Yeah.
you know. Let me see. I think there's one. There was a 4 hour. I think this one might be a good example because you have this 4 hour zone. It's basically the same as this yellow one. Because this happened overnight, and I know I shorted this, but I didn't hold overnight because I wasn't thinking just to swing it or whatever. Of course, we fucking.
Yeah, of course, it's fucking dump after the fucking 3 a.m. zone.
Yeah.
Or missed about 10 cents.
So like, yeah, I don't know where you would get in if you're looking at the 5 here because like you make hot like higher highs in the zone. Well, here, let me go to the 4 hour and actually mark the actual zone. So if we were marking it like we would, there's our zone.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I think the rule that I read was keep it at a fourth of what the zone is created in.
Oh,
That's what I was
really?
seeing. So if it's a 4 hour zone, you would do it in the 1 hour. If it's a 1 hour zone, you would look at the 25, I guess, or the 15 maybe.
See, I think so. For me, here's what I see
Definitely not
is
the 25.
Whatever the fuck it is, Nick. Fuck you.
the 18 and a half minute chart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, it looks like the change of character happens here. Like, this is where it breaks. And it started here. So I think I
Yeah, but you
would
get the
probably,
stop there, right?
right, I would take it here, but if you keep your stop super tight, you're going to get stopped versus having it higher.
Well, if you look at this in like a Wyckoff term where you're saying your change of character is, your change of character is not there, right? You would have your automatic on your 5, you would have your buying climax, your selling, your automatic reaction, and then you come back up for your secondary test.
Right, right.
And then what you're seeing is that bounce back up where like you get stopped out. That's that up thrust action that you're supposed to be worried about
Right, it's a
before the
spring.
downside on that spring. Well, no, your spring is that large black candle right there to the downside.
This one?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's what you're looking at right there. That's why you get stopped out. And it's most people don't have their stops or people move their stops and then they get ran to the upside and you bleed up that little bit before they reverse back down. But who knows?
Yeah, you definitely need a higher time frame for like the 4 hour probably. I don't know how much that would help. Like
No.
if you like a 30-minute zone, then yeah, like the 5 minute would make sense.
Just use the 15, everybody.
I know
I'ma do it.
IDOT was
I'ma
using the
do it.
10.
What about like an odd number, like 11?
I feel like it's all the same shit. I just think anything but the 5, like 10 or the 15, just anything but the 5.
Could there be a hidden edge?
Looking at for flags and stuff on the 5 is magic.
Yeah, flags and stuff. Yeah, because usually like on the 15-minute, a flag is just a wick.
Yeah. But I wouldn't take a trade off the 5 like for a VPA sign.
No, fuck no. I wouldn't either.
I
mean,
wouldn't either
have.
anymore.
I mean, I have, but
we all have.
Usually get burned. Let me see if there's another, because I know IDOT gave me some good examples. Is he on ES? Maybe he was on ES.
I think he trades ES.
What is this? He was using the 10-minute.
What a beautiful pullback.
So like that's kind of an example too. I don't know if
Retest.
I mean it's like hard to know because like you're marking zones when you already know where they hit.
Yeah.
Like the 15. I mean the 15 here was decent. Didn't hit it. Because like for me, like the 15 would be the zone here. That's the zone I would have marked if you're looking for like a zone within a zone type of thing. But we never hit it. The 30.
But couldn't you mark it down on that black body to the bottom of the first white wick to the right? Oh no, because you said the move before the big drop.
Right. So like the 30 here like works pretty well. Like you tick it basically.
Interesting.
Let me see. Because I know he showed me some. Not 100% sure. Hold on, let me see where he gave me some examples. He was looking at previous price action, look like. But like he was doing, let's see, Friday. Oh, he had one on Friday. It's on ES.
Wait, so he does like the zone within a zone, or he will do like the lower time frame change of character.
He does like the lower time frame change of character. Well, it's the same thing to me. I mean that's how I see it at least. Fuck, where was it? Let me see here. ES, what day is this? Fuck. So he had one on, let's see. It's like a day we whipsawed. Was it this one?
I mean, we whipsawed what on Thursday?
Oh, this was like a while back.
And what to Tuesday?
I don't think it was this. Damn it. Yeah, he was showing me like zones within zones, like on the 10-minute.
So he does like kind of what I sent you
Yeah,
and Nick the other day.
Yeah. Yep. He does.
Okay.
Yeah, that basically like exactly that.
Okay.
So like he was doing something like this where like this is the candle that causes it or causes the move out. So then you come back and retest and then you get short there versus just shorting it when you first hit it. Because that's what, yeah,
Okay, just like finding like the bigger zone, going to the smaller time frame little zone, then taking the retest of that little zone.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
To me, like using the zones that just break the market structure or do like a change of character, I feel like that just makes the zone stronger, and I feel like you can be more confident in taking it versus doing the zone within a zone. But I know that I mean, both work. So
Was that something before you even like noticed, like if it was like if it would break like if that would cause a change in the market, or you just kind of look for like the price action?
Like, what do you mean?
Like when you were like making zones earlier, would you even look for like it creating an imbalance or it like causing a change of structure, break a structure, whatever it is, or would you just look for like the small base,
I was
big
just
move?
looking for like a small base and then like a drop afterwards.
Okay.
So like on ES, I think this is a good example too. One of the videos that I sent showed that if there's like an imbalance of price, but there's another one that's higher up, usually it'll come back and test the one that started the first move and not the second one. So like here, like you do have that drop and you have that basing candle that leads to the market structure breaking here. But when it comes back to retest it, it just blows right through it because there's another one up here that still has to be filled. So like
I
that's
think that
one.
happened to us like a week and a half ago. The one like Mark put the limit at and it was under it.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. I can go straight to that
Yeah.
one. It was this guy right here. So we had, and see, we kind of had like this shitty, so like a 2 hour, I think it was a 1 hour. Yeah, we had this little shitty 1 hour that didn't break the market structure. I mean, you kind of gapped up, but it wasn't as good versus this two.
Yeah.
And then you had this 2 hour zone literally right under it.
Fuck.
So this zone, we marked it, but looking back now, I probably wouldn't mark that because you didn't break the structure of it. So we wanted to get in here, and then we got stopped out, and it ended up bouncing right at our other zone. So like on the 15 minute, but also kind of playing like the price action on the 15 minute. You don't really get any like reversal volume or anything until you get this hammer. So like you get this big drop, huge volume down. Like that should tell you, all right, sellers are pretty strong. I would never long this tiny white candle after this massive drop. So, but I'm pretty sure that's what I did. So that was stupid.
Yes, I
And
fucking
then
did too.
and then you get another drop down on lower volume. So you're still trending down, but volume hasn't spiked. So there's really no reason to look long. Like you kind of get one here. So going long there is probably fine with, even like a 30-point stop, you're safe. But really, like this ends up being like your actual bottom on the second volume spike and higher volume spike, and then you finally reverse. So yeah, going back, like marking this 1 hour wasn't very good.
And even if you go off with the change of character in the 15 on the 1 hour, I think you get a pretty good entry. Yeah.
So and then oh yeah, and then here you get your second zone, your little zone that starts here, and then you get this retest of it right here.
How would have it looked on the 15?
This one is the 15.
Oh, this is.
Yep. So you get your big drop down. You don't get any. I think the 30-minute actually showed a little better. So you can apply it to the 30 as well. You get the drop down, and then you start to see wicks forming. Now you get the volume spike on this doji. That's going to be your long on the 30-minute with your stop under the low, and then you're safe. And then you move back up.
That's like where the zone within a zone works so well. Like that's just like in my back testing, I fucking killed it on that. And like, of course, back testing's not like the real thing, but like the risk is just like I
Right,
think
your
the
risk
average
is way
risk I
smaller.
depleted was like 42% total.
Where do you backtest?
I back test. Where do I back test?
Mm-hmm.
On Trading View.
Is it free?
Yeah, I
mean-
believe so. Right,
I
Vin?
mean, that's what I'm doing now. Yeah, with the replay
Yeah.
right here. So like I can
That's
cut it.
crazy.
So I can cut it where
Because
like the
Tradeovate charges.
right. Tradeovate
But
sucks.
no,
It's
the
like
Trading View
it's like
back testing's so good.
yeah,
Really?
Like
But
the
like-
on demand is so shitty.
but like using the zone in a zone, like you can get like this is a 4 hour trade or almost 5.
Yeah, you're risking 20 points as opposed to
Right,
you know.
risking 23 to make 112.
Yeah.
I mean, if you took the volume signal, I mean, you're risking more, yeah. about 40. So it
So
makes
that's
it like
50%. You're
3 hours.
cutting in half.
But the problem is it doesn't always happen either. So
Yeah,
there
that's
is
also
that.
fair.
But when it does work, yeah, it works super well. Like you got this drop right into that zone. Perfect. So that was a good one, yeah. See, like my thing is like I would see this form and this pushing up, and I'm thinking I'm missing the move. But yeah, I feel like that would kind of fuck with me. But I would have to just practice it, I think.
And even some of the ones in my back testing, it took a week for the second zone, the smaller one, to actually get hit.
But
So
it
you think
worked.
you missed the whole move, but you really have like a really good zone waiting.
Right. So yeah, that's it, man.
Do y'all fuck with Milky Ways?
I like Milky Ways.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
I like Butterfingers more though. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Sounds like you're lying to us.
For real.
Mine.
But yeah, so let's see what happens this week. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. I'm pretty excited too. I'm really excited actually. I think this is gonna be a good week.
But I
It's
think,
a good week
yeah,
for a good week.
I think the main thing is only take zones or only mark zones that really break the market structure or change of character. And then you don't have to be as picky about red basing or green basing or whatever. Just mark the damn zone that makes sense, like this right here. Because we, like, that gap up was massive and we just dropped straight from it, just straight down for, it was like, dude, like 3 hours. And of course, I tried to long it like a fucking idiot at this area right here, not knowing that this dude. Oh my! And look, it fills. It literally fills the fucking imbalance. God damn it! Like I feel like I know so much more now.
But you don't know when exactly the imbalance will fill. So, like, it
Right,
explains why you took that trade a bit.
right. I mean, I was thinking it was going to hold here, but that was just me thinking it would. Versus, you
Well, I
gap
think
up.
this is when, not to cut you off, but
Yeah,
really quick, I think this is when you start thinking about like starting to fight for the better price, right?
right,
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we might be thinking that it's going to go long and like there's a high probability that it's going to go long, but why are we sacrificing, 20, 30 points on the upside or whatever it may be when there's a high likelihood that it's going to retrace at least 50% of that longer candle? And especially when that lines up with the fair value gap or that like level, why not just
right,
wait? Or
right.
take a half position and then add full with that or whatever else. But then you're averaging down and we don't like that. So I don't know.
Because this
I'm
ran
fucking
up,
with this Milky Way.
dude. This ran up another 200 points if you just took it like at the zone. I mean, this is a smaller zone, but this is the area that started the big move up. You filled the imbalance, so why would it not go back up? Because now you got this big ass one to fill too. Lo and behold, what does it do? It fucking goes straight back up. And now you got an imbalance here. And what happens? Oh shit, we fill that right again. Like, dude, it's just back and forth like the whole
That's
time.
crazy.
The whole time.
And then you create a new one.
Right. And then you're probably going to hit something and go fucking back up to it too.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Dude, that's seriously how you scalp. Like, that's how I scalp on the 15 minute is using like a version of this. Right? It's so fucking broken.
The
Yeah,
amount of shitty zones we were marking before is unbelievable.
I know. Because you're just marking like the small base with the big rally, but it's really not breaking structure or doing fucking anything, so it's not even worth it.
That's what that guy, whatever the fuck his name is, Noirver, he said like the ones that change like the context from bullish to bearish. And I think what that means is the ones that actually change structure.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why I think this one's going to be a fucking great play right here.
Yeah. We're full port in that Fat Dylan. Is that the Fat Dylan zone or the one above it is?
So on NQ, this zone lines up with the ES zone. So ES is going to hit this probably when NQ hits this.
Yeah, because I've noticed stocks move very similarly. like
Oh,
SPY,
yeah.
Nasdaq,
Right.
Tesla, all of them
So
really.
another thing too is if we're looking at the daily as an so oh fuck, don't move that. So if you look at the daily from where we closed on Friday to this zone, or like roughly that zone's about 2.5%. ES is about 1.9. So usually if we have a green day, the Nasdaq's going to be more green than ES. So if NQ is at 2.5% up, ES is probably going to be roughly 2% up. So both these zones basically line up perfectly with each other.
So do you think for the Dylan zone that it's better to play NQ or no?
I don't think it'll matter.
All
I
right.
mean, I think
You know what
NQ
we
is probably
really
going to
should
drop
do?
more. What?
You know what we should do is as soon as it gets really close to that shit, is run it through that correlation model I have to see how close everything is. You know?
Yeah.
And then at that point we could actually see which one's actually probably better to play
I
based
think
on
that's
those
smart.
ones. Or because if one's leading the other and they're like decently correlated, like they should be, then we could jump in at the right time.
Right.
I mean, I think I fucked up a little bit because I'm already short, but we're living life.
I mean,
Well, I'm short with an option, so I'm not worried about it.
I would love to see us hit like this 11,200 and then reject back down to here. Just a little bit
And full
higher.
court
Because
longs.
honestly, I wouldn't mind like taking like a day trade short if we can hit this zone. Granted, I mean, I guess we could just run straight the fuck up again since this was such a strong candle, but I was hoping for this area to come back and get tested a little bit, at least a little bit. Which
Well,
I
the only
think,
thing I'm also seeing, like, if you look at that where we're at right now, based on that doji before, nope, the one above before the last drop, like we're technically in that doji's range on the bottom.
yeah,
We're in that doji range. So, like, I think we established the bottom, we pushed up. We're either going to establish that or we're going to fail right there. And if we fail there, we're going to run to the bottom of that range. You know, because wicks and everything else we could view as just a different range. You know.
I might short this zone right here if we hit it, to be honest, because it's so small, and I think you're not going to push much higher unless you're going all the way to the top.
Well, that's why I took my short already. To be honest with
Yeah.
you,
Oh
but
shit. Where's oil or gold's hitting our area.
ooh,
Gold also does the same shit too. Like it creates these gaps and then comes back and fills them. Same fucking thing.
well, I just honestly think like it's a market, like a fundamental market law. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh yeah. That's what I think too.
And if that's the case, then we can exploit that.
So you're looking to short gold right now?
I was looking at. I'm gonna have to reevaluate how I feel about because I've never really traded gold, so I was just going off like the previous supply and demand levels that I know, but knowing kind of what I know now might change a little bit.
And they created a fair value gap too.
Yeah, there's
How much does
something.
gold cost?
A lot.
Yeah,
On a micro, 1 point is $10, so really not too bad. So like from
yeah, that's not
60 to
terrible.
90 is gonna be like $300.
I mean, that's like for a micro. That's like playing a mini Nasdaq.
It's not that bad. Well,
No, because like the average move in his day is about 25 points, so about $250 up or down if you do just one micro.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. That.
I think
compared
that's
to
it,
oil, oil's fucking sickening. How much is hogs?
dude. Fuck hogs. I don't even care about hogs.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna stick to the metals, energy, and the indices. I think that's plenty. So like all these basically.
Fuck oil too.
Fucking oil. Well, hopefully now I think we can catch some of these better moves and not miss out by like 5 cents and miss like an $8 move missing fucking 10-cent entry. Like fuck, that's stupid.
I would have doubled my account, dude.
Jesus, seriously?
Yeah, if I was playing the yeah, because I was going heavy on that too.
Yeah, because that was a great play, a great setup.
Fucking con.
So, yeah. But yeah, that's all I got. So hopefully that makes sense, and I think that can help us a lot too. So
Nah, I appreciate this knowledge. That was really dope.
yeah, man, of course. Let's get
Yeah,
into
whatever
it.
you can drop in the resources, that'd be huge.
Yeah. I do
All
have
right.
them pinned in the futures chat because it was just 2 of the videos.
All right, cool. That's fine.
Okay. All right. We will talk to you guys tomorrow.
See you, bro.
Bye.
Have a good night.
You too.